don't move wrong, I'm a gator. From the swamp, homie, I'm a gator.
But I can't tame them, dog. You ready to cook all dogs,
I'm a gator.
all Seminoles. We coming.
Florida Gator on me, I'm a gator. Florida Gator on me, I'm a gator. Florida Gator on me, I'm a gator. It don't move wrong, I'm a gator. From the swamp, homie, I'm a gator. And that two-tone, I'm a gator. Florida Gator on me, I'm a gator.
Come on, Gators! Welcome back in to Gators Talk. I am your host, Millionaire Trader Alex, guys, and we're back with another one. So we got some interesting topics today, guys. They seem to be dragging us in the mud all over social media, all on the websites, all the media outlets are putting in work on dragging us in the mud, and they're taking turns taking a dump on us. Everybody got us below 500 as far as this season, so they're expecting us to lose majority of our SEC games. We barely gonna win the games that we're supposed to win, and that's what they're saying about us. Now, do y'all believe this? Do y'all think we're that bad of a team that we're gonna be a subpar team, a sub 500 team? Are we not gonna make improvements from last year to this year? We're about 70% to 80% of Billy's kids. Yes, we are going to be a young team, but we have a young, talented team. We have a 90 percentile grade on blue chip athletes. Now, whether we coach these guys up and get them ready to play on Saturdays, that's going to come to fruition here on the 31st. And moving forward after that. But I got a few things to show you guys and just, show you what national media is saying about us. And we're going to get right to that.
They're good. One more quarterback topic I want to get to, and this came late last week. And for me, it's interesting because the Billy Napier era at Florida didn't get off to the greatest start. He had the number 4 overall pick, I think, is where Anthony Richardson went, 3 or 4, somewhere around there to the Colts. And if Anthony Richardson takes off in the NFL, it's going to be a bigger issue. But Billy Napier decided Wisconsin transfer Graham Mertz is going to be the guy that he goes with in year 2. For some, maybe that was surprising. For others, maybe it wasn't. But Paul, year 2 for Billy Napier, a guy that a lot of people love as an offensive coach, Graham Mertz now dictates the momentum of what's going to be going on in Gainesville this fall.
And the first game is really important. It was important last year and it didn't really matter in the end. They beat Utah, but the Cam Rising injury is a question mark, and I don't have a good answer yet, Matt. Maybe you do. There are some people in Gainesville that believe they can go out there and steal that game. I'm not one of them. I would like to know who the quarterback is going to be for Utah. But assuming they lose that game, their schedule is problematic. They have Kentucky and Tennessee in the first few weeks of the year. So, I mean, it's entirely possible they could have 3 losses even before they get to Georgia and Florida State and the garden variety SEC East games. So yeah, and if I mean the one thing that's going for Napier, and this was, I'm sure Dan Mullen is finding this to be absolutely hilarious. The fans are saying, "Well, give him time." He's I mean, they act like he inherited a program that had been shut down for 25 years. I mean, Dan Mullen. I mean, the year before, I think he was let go. I think he was in the SEC championship game.
He was always in New Year's Six games. Like what?
Yeah, no, but I was interviewing a guy last night. I said, "So what's the upside?" He said probably 8 games. He said it would be remarkable if Florida could win 8 games. I'm like going, Mullen got fired for winning 9. I mean, the standard in Florida used to be win it all.
That's it.
So Napier has the advantage of just dumbed down expectations, but he can't waste this. But I mean, he has a half a mulligan this season. I don't know how that carries if you hook your tee shot. But if he can beat somebody, and then he's got Florida State, of course, at the end of the year, which is who knows. But if he wins 7 or 8 games, he's going to survive. He's got one of the top quarterbacks coming in. But a lot of the criticism of him has just been sloppiness, the way he handled recruiting early on. But now he has, Matt, tremendous momentum on the recruiting trail, which you could say about 19 other schools at the moment.
But the thing is with that was the knock against Mullen. And, I'm going to ask him about this next week. The knock on Mullen was the recruiting because he came out publicly and was just kind of talked about it. And that's how Billy Napier started. Right. And now he's kind of righted that a little bit. So the one knock that we believe that maybe got Mullen in trouble was the lack of wanting to recruit. Well, Napier seems to have dismissed all of that with his success. But it's just, if I do an autopsy of the Florida program, we talk about with Spurrier and his dominance. We know what happened with Ron Zook. We know, look, Jim McElwain, by the way, didn't he win the East 3 years in a row?
Yeah, but one thing you have to remember about Florida fans, all this give Billy a chance. If he has a bad season, don't think his life will be good, because Florida fans are cannibalistic. They do not accept. I mean, they may talk a good game on August 14th, but they don't talk the same game on December 15th. They, especially in a week when they watch the Meyer years on Netflix. It's a 4-part series on the 2 national championships in Tebow and Aaron Hernandez. So when they're reminded of how good this program used to be, they're going to have a harder time accepting losing to Vanderbilt as they did last year.
Yeah, because Florida, look, growing up, I'm 44 years old. And so in my formative teenage high school years and all that, Steve Spurrier in Florida, that was college football. They were the innovative, badass SEC program with Spurrier throwing his visor, having a temper tantrum. They were Danny Warfel. They were Shane Matthews. They were all of these great quarterbacks, Rex Grossman, even Jesse Palmer got in. All these, They were getting whatever they wanted. They were the SEC. That was Florida. And then they got there again with Urban Meyer. And when you look at this day and age of the league, Paul, Georgia is running college football. Here comes Tennessee with Josh Heupel. Here comes LSU with Brian Kelly. Oh, how about that little team in Tuscaloosa in Alabama? Here comes Hugh Freeze at Auburn. Can Jimbo Fisher get it right at Texas A&M? Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin, they're a tough out. Shane Beamer has momentum in Columbia. All of this is to say Florida now has to leapfrog so many schools to get back to the relevance I think all of us grew up expecting.
They're behind Kentucky. That's a program they used to own. I mean, they really are. And Napier is going to have to do it on the field, because you can only generate so much hype. And one thing about recruiting now, Matt, all these school supported websites and all the misinformation that comes out on recruiting helps you get to a certain point. But if your record is bad, not to sound like Bill Parcells from 30 years ago, it's not going to work.
Yeah, you are what your record is, or you are whatever that quote was. We know what you're getting at. So
y'all hear this. Billy Napier and Graham Mertz is just so bad, and other teams are becoming so good that it's going to be extremely difficult for the Florida Gators to make their way back to prominence. That's what they said. Now, granted, Graham Mertz didn't perform well under Paul Chris, He had losing seasons. He had subpar performances up there in the Big Ten. So this assessment of Graham Mertz is not off because of his past performances. But he didn't set the world on fire when he was up there. He didn't set the Big Ten on fire. So we can all agree to that. But intel coming out of camp is he's progressing further along than what he done up in Wisconsin. He's been moving the ball pretty well in fall camp. He's seemed to be a competent player when it comes to the offense. So he's doing well in camp. So it's up. There was a truth told during that process. You have to see what they do on the field. Football is played on the grass, not in the studios. It's played on the grass. Not in the off season and recruiting. It's played on the grass. So Billy Napier do have to have a jump this year on offense and defense. So that's something that had to be corrected this year. This is the progression that has to happen this year. Now, he mentioned Dan Mullen was fired after a winning season. Dan Mullen wasn't fired after a winning season. Dan Mullen was fired after a 6-7 season. Not only that wasn't the only reason why he was fired, it wasn't just because of recruiting. His players was imploding on the field for the last 2 years. He didn't want to get rid of Todd Grantham, so he mismanaged the defense after 2 years of not performing well on defense. And in the 2020 season, we had opportunity to win SEC East and go to the college football playoffs. Players imploded that year. The defense sucked. We was in the bottom half on defense statistically 2020, and then followed up that season. They didn't give Anthony Richardson much playing time. He rolled the dice with Emory Jones. Emory Jones he was productive, but then he'll throw these crazy picks in opportune moments. So he rolled the dice with Emory Jones, and it failed. That project failed. As you see, Emory Jones hasn't performed out there in Arizona. Now he's over in Cincinnati. So we'll see what he do. And, good luck to the kid for real. But Dan Mullen wasn't fired during his winning times. He was fired during the times he started to lose. He had a down. He went 8-4 when a year they should have went at least 11-1. And then the following year, there's a couple of games they could have won during the 6-7 year. They imploded the second half of that season. They just clocked out. So that was wildly wrong of Paul Feinbaum. But we all know Paul Feinbaum is an Alabama guy. He's not a fan of the Florida Gators. Never has been. Same with Matt Berry. Those guys are national media guys that have fandoms of other programs, and they follow other programs a lot heavier than Florida. And another thing, this is an opportunity for all of them to finally talk a little noise about the Florida Gators, which they always love to do. Because like he said, Florida Gator was rocking and rolling in the late 90s and in the 2000s. And they finally got a chance, to finally drag us through the mud. Even when we brought in new coaches, they had early success, so that surprised them in many different occasions with Muschamp, McElwain, even Dan Mullen. All of those guys had 2 years of success in their first 3 years. So that's something that they couldn't really. They didn't get a chance to really jump on us with 2 feet. Because those coaches came in and won early, then fell off in the latter part of their coaching tenure. So now Billy's starting off not winning like those coaches did. So right now they get to drag us through the mud. And then now they're saying all these other coaches are doing so much better Then Billy, that's them trying to drag Billy because he came from the group of 5. So that's them trying to really attack Florida and Billy Napier at the same time, not giving the guy a shot. And the Florida fan base is actually giving him a shot, and that's what's really got them surprised. But like Paul Funbum said, he believed that we're gonna turn against him in December. He want us to go through that coaching carousel one more time. We don't want that. We want wins. We ready to get back to the Florida Gators that we know. But speaking on that, I do have one of our recruits highlights from this past Friday, and that will be Jeray Hawkins Jr. over at IMG Academy. So let's check out a couple of these highlights, guys. He had a pretty good opening high school debut down at IMG, so let's check it out. That's another one of our kids with blazing speed. Just want to slide in some good news because they was trying to drag us through the mud real bad. But Jeray Hawkins, that was an excellent touchdown pass from the quarterback to Jeray Hawkins, and you see the explosiveness of this kid. But yeah, they definitely was trying to do a number on us guys. And then another thing he tried to talk about doing that. 19 other teams is recruiting well. That is baloney. That is baloney. If you ain't top 10 in recruiting, you ain't not hanging with the big dogs. If you're a top 15 team, you're teetering right there. But below top 15, you're mediocre. Your class is mediocre. You maybe got a few 4 stars and rest 3 stars. So you're mediocre. Your talent level ain't quite to the magnitude of a top 5 or a top 10 team. We're in the top 3. We're in the top 5 right now, currently. So we're doing just fine on the recruiting trail and not trying to add and bring all these other teams in there like he tried to do. The same thing what Matt did with talking about the Ole Miss and Texas A&M, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Kentucky. They even got Kentucky better than us, guys. So that's how far they've taken it. They know that as a jab at us when we owned that team for 31 years. This is what they doing to us, y'all. Totally disrespectful to the Florida Gators and our fan base. But what Billy Napier gonna do about it? This should be nice bulletin board work for the Florida Gators and those players out there. Those coaches should have a little fire under them of how they're talking about them and their staff. Everybody in that building should have a chip on their shoulder. Everybody. They're telling them they are not good at their jobs. And they're telling the players they suck. That's what the national media is telling those guys about them, about the work they put in. Whatever work you put in ain't gonna mean nothing because you guys suck. That's what that's what the national media is telling our players and our coaching staff. Do y'all believe this? I don't. But like I said earlier, the games are played on the field, on the grass. So it's about the football product that's going to get put out there. I believe that we're going to be all right. I think we're going to get better defensively. That's another thing, guys. Dan Mullen did not recruit very well up the middle. Think about the guys that we had in the middle of our defense over the last couple of years. We lost a Lamar Goods, Javon Dexter. He was recruiting so bad up the middle. He brought in the guy from Auburn, and the other guy up there. He was from he was from one of those Big Ten schools. I think it was Penn State. He came from Penn State. Can't think of this guy's name right off the top of my head right now. But he was recruiting so bad up the middle that he had to go to the transfer portal to try to cover that up. And then those guys transferred out last year. We was definitely going to be weak up the middle. That's why Javon Dexter and Big Dez had to play a lot of snaps. And we had to move some guys into the interior that normally play on the edge. He really did a number on our defense. He wasn't recruiting real high, and we lost some good edge rushers through the portal as well. But they haven't even did anything over at those other schools they're at. We'll see come this season. Do any of them make any noise? The only guy that really made some noise is James Houston. He went down to Jackson State, played very well, went to the NFL. But we'll see. We will see. Dan Mullen did not do a great job on player acquisition. Just plain and simple. You've seen the receiving core that we have. I mean, prior to he had prior guys that he had. Trayvon Grimes, Justin Shorter. We had Freddie Swain. Of course, Kadarius Toney. He did well on the front end of the recruiting receivers, but on the back end, that's where we lacked talent at. He just didn't do that well. But he had all these big body receivers that didn't pan out. So he left us decimated in talent. So that's why we performed so so abysmal last year. But now we have almost a new roster coming into this year with better talent at wide receiver. But it's going to be young talent, but better talent at wide receiver. So we're looking to see how we're going to perform on field. And I just want to see what you guys think about what these people been saying about us, man. Let me know down in the comment section, guys. Let me know what's going on. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like and subscribe and comment. And guys, y'all know we're going to get on out of here. It's all about the orange and blue, y'all. Y'all know what's going on.